Hello and welcome. My name is Tom. This is the Enthusiasm Project Season 4, Episode 12, Secret Series, Episode 5, although it's not so much secret anymore because a bunch of people have heard it, and also we are no longer recording in secret, we're no longer recording in advance, we're recording in real time, I guess you could call it. So today, I vaguely know what we're going to talk about. If you've been listening, and this is what I appreciate, lots of people have been listening to the last 4 episodes and giving us all kinds of great feedback about it, and I really appreciate that. And most importantly, people have been saying that it's been really helpful and something really great to listen to. Of course, all credit for that goes to Heather, who's been the executive producer, basically. So Heather's here today, and now that I've done this intro, she's gonna basically just take it from here, and we're gonna have a little conversation.
Hello. Okay, ready? Hello. Was that kind of like you, the way that you say it?
I don't know. Hello.
Hello.
Anyway.
Hi, everybody. So, welcome to the final episode
Oh,
of
this
the
is the final?
Yeah.
I didn't
Well, we
realize
could do
this
an
was a
epilogue episode like 6
Secret
months
series
from now.
finale. Okay. Well, here we go. Breaking news.
We are in it. Yes. This is the final episode. Because then you could branch out and do, a whole new season after this about whatever you want.
Yeah, I got I don't know, 8 more episodes in this season, 9 more episodes.
Oh, we keep going.
Well, it's not even a secret anymore, so yeah.
Yeah, it's not a secret anymore. So, the final episode of the Secret Series. Today, let's contextualize. First of all, the most recent podcast, the podcast after this, was You Were Still Working.
Yes.
It is Wednesday, a week and a half after you are now working for yourself.
Yeah, so I have left my
You've
job.
left.
I'm gone.
You are gone, and you've been self-employed for a week and a half.
Yes. Yeah, I left on the 19th, and today is the 31st.
How's it feel?
So freaking good.
Okay, so here's the thing. We all knew, let's be honest, we all knew that Tom was going to be all about this life. I didn't realize how quickly he would adjust. Just knowing him with the guilt and the feeling like you're trading something in exchange for this. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be as smooth of a transition, but you are in it.
Yeah, no, I still do feel guilty, and I still feel, if anything now, I just feel scared that it will get taken away.
Well, the crazy thing is that the biggest reason why you left is because now everyone is back in school, and this week is the first week that you would have had to have been in the classroom with students in a whole weird hybrid model. Oh, do you want to pause?
And we're back. Heather is on the emergency alert for getting her vaccine, so it ties right into what we were talking about. We thought that was.
I thought that was a vaccine call. We had to drop everything and go.
It was not.
So anyway, so this is the first week. Teachers, admins, school students, everyone is back, for the first time in
and it's not just everyone's back, but some people are back, some people are still online.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's this mixed thing of some kids come from Monday and Tuesday, other kids who will be there Thursday and Friday are online Monday and Tuesday, and then there's other kids who are only online, and then Wednesday is a deep cleaning day, and then Thursday and Friday, a different group of kids comes in, the other kids go online, and the other group that always is online is always online.
It's a mess.
And you're teaching both at the same time, and I am not doing any of it because I left.
Yes. And the one thing that I know about education, and especially teachers and admin, is that they will...
They will make it work.
Yeah.
And we're back. It has been no time for you, but it's been a couple hours for us. And Heather is halfway vaccinated now.
Oh my goodness,
Yay.
I'm so excited.
We could just edit this out, but we decided not to because, hey.
We're documenting the journey.
And
this
also.
Is kind of part of it.
It is part of it because also, vaccinations or lack thereof definitely played a factor in my decision to not go back. So... anyway, we had talked about, transitioning and that kind of stuff. So throw it back in your court.
So I think we were going to go into a whole thing about you not being in school
Right.
anymore. But I think the thing that I want to remember, and probably the thing that people want to hear about, is what is it like? Do you have any regrets? Sorry, Finley's chewing.
This is like the cursed
I know.
episode.
But what is it like? So we talked about how you really eased into this transition very,
Yes.
with no friction at all. Like it's like you've been doing this for a while. But is there anything else? Like, what's bothering you now? Is there anything bothering you now?
I mean, what I mentioned earlier was the fear of losing what I now have. And there's this weird thing which you and I have talked about, and it's like I can describe it as almost a sense of sadness for myself and others when you realize how much time I spent begging for my own time and to have my own life and to just be a person. Today, like we just went to get your vaccine. That happened during the work day. And it's like, that would have been such a source of stress of, oh my gosh, I have the chance to get this thing, which is very important to get. But I have to get like approval, or, what if I left? Could I leave 5 minutes earlier? Is that going to cause and you're not even doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be this stressful, guilt-ridden experience. And that kind of thing was most of my existence. And so to have that just disappear, and
like you can literally push pause in the middle of a podcast.
Right.
We could drop everything, come back, and just pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
And it's
time
no big
doesn't
deal.
matter. And it's just, it makes me sad for how much time I spent begging for my own time. And there were breaks, I would get like summer or Christmas or whatever, but there's so much pressure on those breaks. And I think anyone who works like a regular job can identify with that, because okay, you finally made it to your break, and now during that time you need to visit family, catch up on all the stuff you've been putting off. If you're someone like me, that means also then, okay, now I need to like dive into my side project and really get ahead and make progress on that. And I don't know, it's just like, it's so much work to have a break because you're trying to cram everything in. And then there's the stress for, if I don't finish it now, then I'll have to wait months until the next break. And even the weekends were the same thing, because it's like, I say words if I haven't, like, it's been
a week and a half, babe.
It's been 2 full weekends though, with no Sunday scaries. But because even the weekends are, oh my gosh, I need to do this stuff. I want to do this stuff, and I have to do this stuff. All these different things over here, culminating in, okay, if I don't finish it, then that means I just need to push pause on this and wait for
the next
5
break.
or 6 more days before I can pick it back
The
up.
weekend, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really stressful. And also when you have a break, like I've thought of how many times I've like just struggled to get to spring break or summer vacation or something like that. And it feels good because you have your break and you're like, cool. But you're just putting things off. You just know, okay, I didn't finish anything. I just sort of now postponed it for a few weeks or a month or whatever, and then
so
it'll come right back into
everything
it.
is in progress.
Yeah,
It's all just floating.
you just, it's never out of your mind.
Right.
It's never far from your mind. There's during summer it takes weeks to wind down, and weeks before the school year begins to start getting back into things. And so that means there's really only a time of there's very few days, maybe a week or two, where it's like, okay, I'm actually not really thinking about work, and that's it for the year.
Yeah, and I think some people can just switch on and off, like, it's the
I
last day of
guess,
school
maybe.
and they're fine, and then they don't think about it till the first day of school, but you're just not like that.
I
know you're not.
Yeah,
I've never known you to not be like that, but here's the crazy thing about seeing you during this week and a half, which I told Tom this, I think it was last night, but I was like, I just thought of the perfect word that summarizes your whole new everything. Because I kept saying, like, I've never seen you so happy. I've never seen you so happy. But it goes beyond that, because yes, that's true. It's actually true. I've never seen you so happy.
You were just living with a monster.
It's not that. It's just like you're I have never not known you to be
perpetually
unstressed. Yeah. Like there's always something very heavily weighing on your mind.
Right.
So, I've observed him. He's even been able to do all this work stuff, which we could dive into a little bit.
Sure.
In terms of his YouTube channel and stuff like that. He's done home projects. You have been busy. It's not like this past week.
I haven't actually taken a day off.
You haven't taken a day off yet, which I'm sure people would be like, how the hell have you not taken a transitionary break? But you got the course and all this. So it's really just been business as usual in terms of, your other full-time job, which is now your only full-time job.
So much nicer.
And the one word that I would use to describe Tom is
sexy.
I can't believe you just cut me off and say that.
Sorry. I was debating if I should or not, and I figured
this is true, but not for this podcast audience.
Sorry. You're making a point.
Oh, goodness. So the one word that I would use to describe Tom's whole new vibe is present. Tom is present. He is in the moment. And I can't. It's almost like it's a different person, which it makes me feel the same feeling as Tom of just like you feel sorry for yourself for having gone this long.
Yeah.
But here's an example. Like, let's see. So when we take the dogs for WALK. They go
we can't
crazy.
Say right now.
Yeah. So they go crazy. They just, we're working on it, but they get so hyper. They're so hyped up. Finley's barking his mind off, and it's just all craziness. And usually what happens is that because the dogs are riling each other up and it's loud because they're barking and they're so excited and they're running around and we can't get Finley to put his harness on. It's just like I'm trying to cut up the treats and it's just a whole thing. This time, Tom was like, oh, Finley was barking in my ear. Ha, ha, ha. Isn't that funny? And he just smiled at me. Whereas before, he would be like, Finley, oh my God. Like, oh,
well, no, because I learned that I can put his harness on if I put him in the garage and he wants to come back inside. He sits at the door and then I can put his harness on. But then he barks and his bark bounces off the door and into my ear. So it's 10 times louder. And
he opened the garage door, looked at me with a giant smile on his face, and was like, "Finley barked in my ear. It feels like my ear was bleeding." This seems silly. Okay, this seems silly, but I promise you, a week and a half ago, Tom would have been like at least an 8 on the irritation scale out of 10. Like where the strain in the voice, like probably a raised voice and like stomping around probably and just mad. And then now we're just mad.
Not mean or like physically.
Not mean. Of course not.
Let's just be clear here.
Yeah, of course
just
not.
Frustrated.
Just very, very, very frustrated. And then like I would feel bad. And, and then it's just like, ugh. But now you're just like, ha ha ha. Okay, now we're going for WALK. And then you just it's like you can't stop smiling. Like you're just always smiling. Like you're picking up trash because our trash like tipped over and the wind blew it away, and he just picked it up and just carried the trash the whole way home with a giant smile on his face.
That was because we found it around the corner. It's like, is that our Coke Zero box? It is. It's torn for the fridge specifically.
And like, okay, the dog threw up in the middle of the night. Tom would have in another life, Tom would have woken up just so pissed because his, he can when you have a job that you have to show up to,
right?
Like if you don't sleep well or if you sleep late, you are cutting into the amount of sleep that you can get. So the dog throws up and it's a whole thing because we have to clean it up. We have to make sure they're okay. We have to, it's not like we're going right back to bed. But and before you would have been like, oh my God, like I can't sleep. I'm so tired. And this time you're like, are you okay, Finley? Are you okay, Ben? Or whoever it was. And just like, and you just, you're like, okay, now I'm just going to be on the iPad. Now I'm going to go back to bed. And
well, okay. I hope I don't sound like just a monster prior to this, just this angry, frustrated.
But the reason why I say present is because that's the thing. Like, if you wake up in the middle of the night because the dog's throwing up, it's not that you are frustrated at the dogs or frustrated at me. It's you're frustrated because you know you have to wake up at a certain time because of work. Now you can sleep in. You could take a nap during the middle of the day. Like, it doesn't matter. So even though the same things are happening, it doesn't irritate you or annoy you or cause any negative.
Well, because I get to be, for like the first time, in charge of my own time, and I know I'm gonna get my stuff done. It's not like I'm sitting on the couch all day. I need to sit on the couch more, but like, it's basically just what you said. I know that, okay, if I need to sleep a little longer, I can. It doesn't matter if we do something later at night and now we stay up a little later because, like the alarm's not going to go off at 5 a.m.
Totally doesn't matter.
And then it would compound before too, because if you're tired on Monday, it's not like you're going to be more rested on Tuesday. It just, ugh.
And then now, so it's like, okay, if the dog WALKs are longer, you used to be like, okay, here's everything that I need to do, you know, when you get home from work, but before you go to bed, which is like,
couple hours.
Yeah, maybe get a workout in. You have to work on your YouTube channel, like, and we got to take the dogs out, and it's a whole thing. But now it's just like, well, that's cool. It's like, and it's just, as your wife, it's like such a relief to see you so unstressed. Nothing, I promise you, no amount of meditation, journaling, therapy, anything would have ever even caused the night and day difference.
Because it's all of the stuff that for as long as I can remember, and for this job specifically, the last decade, all of those things, all of those frustrations, all of those stresses, literally, you just snap it away, and it doesn't matter, like, whatever, like, it just.
And let me tell you how this is translated into his YouTube channel. Because, well, not YouTube channel, but the brand, the business. I have never seen Tom work so hard. I mean, I think because you just didn't have the time to be able to work as much as you wanted or can.
Right. Well, it's also because I'm not constantly switching between stuff and trying to squeeze things in here. Oh, I have a quick break. Oh, I could jump in and work on this thing here. Now I could do this.
And the only time where you've been able to work on your stuff for longer than like an hour or whatever is on a Saturday, where if you're going to work on a Saturday or Sunday, you're going to feel bad because you know that your time, like, I am also competing for your time. The dogs are also competing for your precious weekend time. And so there's this sense of guilt of like, okay, I'm going on 5 hours now of, working on my stuff, but not spending time with the family and this whole thing. And now it's just gone. There's enough time for it all.
Yeah.
And like in a week and a half, Tom has crunched out an online course, 2 videos.
2 or 3. Yeah. Well, the online course is
how many videos in itself?
25 videos
in a week and a half.
Yeah.
You had not started this a week and a half ago.
Yeah. No, not the actual production side of it. The planning. For those of you who bought the course, the planning was done, just not the actual production. And now the production is done.
But that's great. That's like a crazy amount of work.
Yeah, I'm exhausted from that. But it's done. And I could focus on it. I could sit there literally because I would try to record a section a day, which is each section's about 6 parts. And I could be done with a whole section recording by like before 10 a.m. if I started at 7:30 or 8, because it's just going through the material. And then you have to edit it and break it up and do all that. That's very different. But just the sit-down recording, communicating the material, and that's how long it should take. But prior to this, it would have been like, okay, I can do these 2 parts here. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll do the other part, and then I'll do the other part. And now, because also I'm doing it on a million different days, I have to like put in extra work to keep consistency and continuity going so that someone doesn't go through and it's like, why is everything different in every section?
Switching your setup.
Yeah, plus the setup would be switched, so everything like, okay, let me bring, it would cause me so much stress. Yeah. It just reminded me of like when I had my MacBook and I'd have to unplug everything and bring it to school and set up everything there and then do things there and then unplug everything there and bring it home and set up here. It's like, it doesn't sound like much, but it it's like when somebody says, "Hey, can we just do a call for 45 minutes?" And you're like, "Yeah, but that's not going to be 45 minutes because there's prep time and there's like cleanup or breakdown time, whatever you want to call it." And that's going to add on to that. And it's the same thing. Like there's the transition time, there's the setup time, there's just the exhaustion of like, I don't know. I literally I told you this earlier. I couldn't imagine like doing my job anymore. Like I just couldn't imagine me doing it anymore. Like it just, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And obviously the solution isn't for everyone in the world to just quit their jobs, but also I don't know. There's so much that I'm still processing and feel guilty about. But the thing I want to point out, which you pointed out, so this isn't me feeling like braggy or anything, but it's like there were years put into building something that so there was an option to transition.
Well, like
to.
even you being able to crunch out 25 very like well-produced, high-polished videos for a course that you can be proud of. So it's at your standard. This isn't just anybody's course.
I am proud of it, yes.
It's your standard. For you to be able to do that in a week and a half is like, I mean, that's years of practice. That's years of practice of the confidence and the competence of the thing that you're teaching, of being able to produce your video. Okay, how long... For the past, 2-3 days, I've been working on redoing my studio and getting every light set up and the angles and, moving things around, moving furniture around, all of this stuff. It took you years. And throughout this process, I've been peeking into Tom. I have to walk past Tom's room to get to my room because mine's at the end of the hall. And I just look at his office and I'm like, it's perfect. Like it's perfect for him, but it's perfect for him. And I was like frustrated, like, oh, I wish I had that perfect setup for mine because I wasn't happy with it until this morning, which yay, I figured it out. Thank you, darling, for helping me with that.
You're welcome.
But I even thought like it took you iterations for you to build even this setup and get all the equipment and learn how to use it. And, you've tested hours and hours and hours and hours of the perfect way to do it. So now that when you sit here, you're not fumbling your fingers trying to figure out, okay,
Well, that's the thing that helped me to like kind of eliminate some of the guilt was, and you're the one that kind of put this thought into my mind. And I don't know if you said this exactly, but it's almost like if you get a promotion at work, ideally it's a merit-based promotion, right? You do your job, you get confidence, they get boosted into a position. And if I look at this as that, like there's been a lifetime of practice and education and skill building and all of this stuff so that you could move into this new position. It's not just like, I'm a millennial, so I'm going to quit my job and eat avocado toast all day because that's the thing I want to do. And that's not what's happening. But, like, I don't know. That's just sort of, looking at it that way has helped me to feel, I don't know why I even feel guilty. It's just so good. It's just so good.
You feel guilty because you're Tom.
Right, yes.
So you're always going to feel guilty.
For being alive.
But I think, like, one of the things that we're really passionate about and we love talking about is this whole, like, creator economy, middle class whole situation. And I think that millennials just so happen to be primed to make this kind of a transition because you're not in your early 20s. You've put in the work.
Right.
You've done the time. You're not entry level. Wherever you're working, you have not only education and work experience, but life experience, and you're used to figuring things out. You're resourceful. And if you're really passionate about something, whether it's, I don't know, yoga, vegan cooking, photo, video, entrepreneur, whatever it is, like you can totally build a brand around that.
But it's also like not quitting the job and now clicking the create account button and like figuring it out, but having worked the 2 full-time jobs for many years,
the side thing
sucks.
Can turn into a full thing.
Yeah, and it's hard because it's like you can't, obviously that would be the dream. Like I know that wasn't the goal when I started my channel, but if you had asked me like, hey, you want to start this YouTube
it's just
channel?
Not realistic.
Yeah, what if I know, but if you had asked me like, what if just magically I will transfer your salary to do this instead, I would have jumped at the opportunity even though that wasn't why I was doing it. And so it's like this tricky thing where you can't really start something with that goal in mind, because I think it's almost setting you up for failure because the expectations and the purpose and all that stuff are not there.
I will tell you, having done it the other way, where I was clicking create account after I had quit, let's just say Tom's transition has been a lot more smoother.
Yeah, but to get to that point, though, there was the overlap between the two, which was extensive,
Right.
was backbreaking. And, like that, it's not...
You paid your dues.
Sure, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I guess I just have to keep reminding myself that it is still very much work, and it's hard, too, because the thing I'm working on is it's what I used to do in my free time. So that's why it's like I haven't taken a day off, but I know I need to watch that and make sure that I do take days off. But it's like, well, this is what I want. This is what I would normally do on my day off. So what do I do?
Yeah, but it is. I think you know this, but it is important to turn your brain off and to just not be creative.
It's the perfect storm of also I was in the middle of making a course.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The course, the pre-order people get access to it in less than a week. So there's no choice but to finish it. Yeah. And the day that this comes out, huh?
Oh, yeah. Today.
If you missed the pre-order, go to himynameistom.com/waitlist to be notified when the regular orders start. Ooh. Yeah, look at that. See, selling. You gotta pay those bills. But that needs to be done. And doing pre-orders for that was such a discussion we had over I wasn't comfortable with it because I didn't want someone to pay for something that didn't exist yet. And then I just started looking at more Kickstarter campaigns and those kinds of things where people are investing in because they want the potential of something.
Exactly.
And obviously I knew I'm not going to just flake out on everybody. But once people actually did pay for the pre-order, and I had the outline, I had the idea, it just didn't exist yet. That really lit the fire of this needs to get done. Mm-hmm. But also I'm not going to be able to go hang out on the couch and do nothing if I know that there's something that people paid for that I can't deliver yet. So once that's up and running and out to the people who paid for it, and then even better, available for more people, I could be taking a nap on the couch and someone could buy it and get something good out of it. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to lift a finger. And hopefully that's a thing that happens. That would be amazing. And that's, it's at that point once the course is done and I'm working hard to get ahead in YouTube stuff. So then everything can kind of be self-sustaining for a week or two. And I can just
take some time. You definitely need
do
to
some
take
house
some
projects
time.
And stuff.
Yeah. So let's think back to...
You're doing the retrospective here.
Yeah. What you obviously were very hesitant. This was not something that was an easy decision. Obviously the pandemic kind of pushed you in a direction, but this is something that I've been trying to get you to do for years.
Before it was feasible, yeah.
Yeah. So comparing those thoughts to how it is now that you're on the other side.
It's crazy because people have been sending messages, when I posted a thing saying this is my last time in my classroom and all that stuff. People sent me lots of messages. And the thing that I like that I was able to say is I don't think there's anybody who would be more hesitant than me to do this, or anybody who I would have thought would be less likely to do it. Mm-hmm. So if I'm doing it, that means that it is possible.
It can be done.
Yeah, it doesn't mean be reckless or anything, but I mean, it's nothing. I can't even think I don't know, being a cage fighter. What else is something that I'd be
it's
that's just
totally
not
unlikely.
Something I could ever do. Mm-hmm. And this is so much that thing.
It's not even you never even thought about it. I know you didn't.
No, because it's, and I'm still learning to navigate stuff
it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. We know that.
Yeah.
But I think you're doing such a good job of, like you said, it's perfect timing. So
yeah,
there's a natural, deadline. And this isn't, you haven't figured out your weekly routine or if you're going to have that or what your days are going to look like or anything. But I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, it's okay. Thought got away. It's just, I don't know, like, so much of it just comes down to that idea, which we've talked about before, and it gets more philosophical, and recognizing that having the opportunity to do this
Right.
is a
blessing
and a privilege for sure. But getting to the idea of like, it just sucks how much of your time you spend, or most people spend, I guess, doing things that they don't want to do. And everybody has to do things they don't want to do. But when most of your time, the majority of your waking hours in the prime years of your life are spent doing something that at best you're pretty okay with. And there's probably something else that you would be so much happier and more fulfilled doing. But it's just like, we are raised and brought up to think that you're supposed to put that off to the side. If something is enjoyable, then
It's
it
a
can't
side
possibly be
thing.
work.
Yeah, it's a
it needs to be
hobby.
a side thing. Work sucks. That's why you do it. That's why it's called work and not play. Like, all of those stupid things. And then, I don't know. I guess you do that until, I don't know. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in years from now. So it's like, working in a school system, the day-to-day can really suck sometimes, but you have at least a clear idea of this basic thing is what will keep happening until I retire in decades.
Well, see, the other thing is that I feel like there's so much inefficiency when you're
good
working for somebody
God.
else, because you're not. I think a lot of people, you got lucky in this regard, but I think for a lot of people, you're hired because your skills match the position. It's not because this position was created for you. I think you had a little bit of that.
Well, in my most recent position, yes, but prior to that, no, it was you need to.
But even then, because you're in public education, so much of your creativity, energy, talent, whatever you bring to the table is just lost or spent on waste. It's like wasted. Whereas when you're your own boss, like, you're only going to work on the things that you are best at.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you it's like you unlock a potential that you can never. Of course, there's something to be said about you can definitely get a lot more done with a team and stuff like that. Like, that's something I really miss, is having, what you can achieve with a group of people. But just like, you don't have to sit there in a staff meeting. Like, you could spend an hour, even recharging on the couch is more productive to your overall output than
Well, just making decisions. Like, I can't remember if we talked about this in a podcast or not, but I started doing consultations last fall. And for some reason, I guess because I didn't think that people would want to spend money to have an hour consultation and feel like that was enough, even though that's literally the thing they're spending money on. Then I was like, well, it needs to go above and beyond, and I'll record it, and I'll send them a follow-up with the recording, and then I'll put together a summary of everything we talked about. That's, of course, very beautiful and formatted very nice and has all the links, and not just links like if we talked about, oh, you should get this camera, here's a link to it, but here's a link to it and a description of this is what we talked about. This would be good for your blah, blah, blah to use this way, which each of those took at least a half hour to write. So, it's like we talked about, it's an hour consultation. At that point, I'm spending a half hour setting up all the different angles and things to go over, and then doing the consultation, another half hour wrapping that up. And you were like, they're not.
Why?
They're not. That's not part of the deal. Like, that's not a bonus feature that they're signing up for. They don't even know about that until I tell them during the thing. Oh, just so you know, when we're done. And it was like, oh, so instead, what I'll do is I'll let them record it if they want. So on their end, they can press record, and then if they want to, they have the copy. I don't have to do anything there. And I can paste links in the Zoom chat during our meeting, and they can open them and bookmark them. And I don't need to do a follow-up. So when the meeting is over, which is the hour that has been paid for, I click end, and then it is done. And obviously you encouraged me to do that, but that was a very big shift in terms of like process and procedure, and it got to be made in just a second, boom.
Yeah, you didn't have to have a committee meeting. You didn't have to run it by anybody. Didn't have to
And most of what I would normally do is I would make a decision like that and then just not tell anybody and be nervous until somebody was like, hey, why is this, like, it's sort of the beg for forgiveness thing. But there's no one to beg for forgiveness from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just how much time I spent apologizing for existing.
I know.
And for just like,
I know.
just trying like, oh, well, if I want a little bit of time to myself, I need to put in 10 times as much time doing something I don't want to do just so I can get a little bit of time for myself, because that's for some reason how it has to be.
So could you have told your past self this, like that this is what you were, did you realize that this is what you would also be getting when you quit your job?
Like the feeling or the...
Yeah, the feeling, the freedom, the, you know.
I mean, I think that's what I wanted more than anything, was that freedom. It's just the part that I can never reconcile was, I remember there's like a scene in Office Space from 20 something years ago where like the main guy is like, his dream is to do nothing. Like if you had $1 million, what would you do? And he says, I would do nothing. I would do nothing at all. And like his friend's like, you don't need $1 million to do nothing. Like my cousin's broke. He does nothing all day. And it's like, that's not the goal, like the freedom of time, but the idea that you can create something in a way where you can spend your time doing things that you're interested in, skilled at, and passionate about, and it will generate revenue to support you, and it won't kill your soul.
Yeah.
Like that idea is what is very hard to fathom.
I wish this for every human being.
The world would be a much better place. And it's, like, I don't know. Again, still feeling guilty and still feeling, waiting for the other shoe to drop of...
Just stop.
I know, but it's just...
I know, it's just you.
It's just, I'm used to, you need to be working at something that's very, very frustrating and difficult to just sort of eke out your time on the side if you can manage it.
Yeah. This is a story for another day, but I just thought of it before I forget. I just want to tell you. So Philip DeFranco, one of our favorite YouTube channels,
Sure.
He's moving.
Yes.
And his new space is like so cool.
It is. All right, then. What is the connection here?
Just because remember how we have talked about like a creator space. I know the last episode was literally like how we didn't want to hire anybody.
Yeah, I totally don't.
But I like the idea of like, hey, what if our business grew? And now like, let's think 5-10 year goal. I mean, I think that's cool.
For now, I'm not ready. It's the same thing of like, right now, the idea of involving anyone other than you in anything is... It's not just like, oh, I can't imagine doing that. I do not want to
I don't
do
either.
that. Every day I scroll through Twitter and I see people who are like, the best thing I ever did for my business was start hiring out other people.
I'm don't talk like that, because I swear one day...
I know. And I know there's reasons and they have reasons.
There are things... I don't think that like an editor is the thing, but maybe there's like a VA or something.
There's for sure things you can
Copywriter.
outsource to other people to help. And I know that, and I know there's value in that. But also, I think it's very important to look at like what your specific goals and needs are. Mm-hmm. Because if you are saying, okay, I'm going to work for myself, so now to be legit, I need to get a real office. Okay, now I need to get an office, but now I need to get an assistant because that's real and that's legit. And now you have this insane amount of overhead that you have to, and then everything is just insanely stressful, instead of going, okay, what I want is to work for myself. Check it out. There's an extra bedroom in the house. Cool. That's going to be my workspace. This is what I'm going to do. And it's just sort of like, I don't have ambitions that go beyond that, because for me, at least...
you mean you haven't been a person for 35 years.
For me right now, that's what gives me the freedom.
Yeah, this is what you wanted.
Anything beyond that is going to start... I mean, at this point, anything beyond that is going to start taking away that freedom. And I don't want to do that right now. Down the line, you never know. Yeah. Like, you never know where things are going to go. I couldn't have predicted this a few years ago, so I'm not going to predict 5 years from now. But I just think it's so important to understand what you want, because that can make it so attainable. If you're looking at physical spaces. No, I'm not talking about your idea, but people who are looking for offices and assistants and crews and all this kind of stuff. Then it's like,
that leap is so...
Yeah, how can you possibly... Now you're starting a giant company, but if you're looking at, this is what I want to do, our expenses
be
are very
comfortable.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Like we don't live in a high cost area. We don't have car payments. We don't have student loan payment. Like, there's just like a practicality to it, and that makes it
real nice.
Yeah, it makes it real nice. But again, down the line, you never know. Having like spaces to do things in a world where people could go places and do things.
Post COVID, can we think about that yet?
Right. Maybe by the time that is a thing, then we'll be. But I don't know.
Ballin'.
Sure. But the fact that you never know what the possibility is.
So, what would you say to your past self? What would you say to think back to Tom, who was just,
Yeah, how past are we talking here?
Like, you were at some point in your previous job where you just really were like, I'm cool if today was over and I just want to start the next day.
Right. The thing that I would say to anybody, including myself, in that situation is that there are a lot of days that will pop up where you have to do stuff you don't want to do, no matter what your day-to-day is. And so as soon as there's a day where there's a bunch of things you don't want to do or something, it's natural to go like, oh, I can't wait till this is over. That's normal. When that becomes every day, where you wake up in the morning and the first thought that you have is like, when can I get back in bed? The sun's not even up on a brand new day and you're wishing the day was over, and you do that most days, that's a problem. And the thing that I would want to let myself know is that while I have achieved a level of success in this very traditional thing, doing so also means like stifling a completely separate part of myself and potential, and just it's almost like a dumbing down of myself to fit into this other thing. And check it out, you could instead embrace that part of yourself
and grow it.
And if this doesn't fit into that, then you can drop this.
Yeah.
And like, I know it sounds like I'm being very bitter on my teaching career, and I'm not. I am very bitter at the public education system. That's a whole
separate
next series.
episode.
But obviously there's been amazing things. Obviously I couldn't do what I'm doing now without that career, and beyond that, of course, you're impacting students and you're building all these relationships and stuff. But I can definitely say that like that is not something, those thoughts are not something that's going to sustain me. It was not going to sustain me anymore. Like I did it for 11 years, and that
you put your
there was no more nutritional value to get out of that.
It would have just been rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And you're just not the type of person. I know the feeling of like you tune out, you pull back on the creativity, and you just, especially in a school system, it's just like, okay, just do another year.
Well, this is what I was kind of thinking about, because there's a survey that came out recently that said this past year, the COVID year, something like more than 60% of teachers have considered quitting. And there's already a teacher shortage pre-COVID. So 60% of already not enough teachers quit. I mean, that's just like the most ridiculous teacher shortage ever. Now, of course, the number of teachers who consider quitting versus the number who do, that's very different. Like, who's close to retirement? Who's actually going to do a career change? Yeah. Who are the people that say they're going to quit but then don't? And who are the people that COVID or not are going to say are the ones that are like saying they're going to quit every year for 26 years?
Yeah,
like they're just those people who every year they're just like, I'm going to quit, blah, 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 and they're there the next year and they're the next year. So I know that's not an accurate number. But one of the dangers with teaching specifically is because it is on that cycle, which I always considered a benefit, that like the academic calendar. But the problem with it is that most of teaching, most of the time, if you look through like, I guess I shouldn't say November, December, because there's so many like holidays there that you can just go like, I just got to get this, just got to do 3 more weeks, just gotta, even though you're wishing away weeks and weeks of your life to get to those breaks. The like January through May part of it is so incredibly brutal.
It's the stint, yeah.
That's always where I was the most depressed, the most stressed out, the most sick, the most like everything.
Yep.
And by the time that that's over, you're so close to the end of the school year, which is such a fun time. It's springtime. Everybody's exciting. The end is in sight. You're staring down the barrel of a summer vacation. And then you're just like, I did it. So all those thoughts of like, it reminds me of when I got my super crazy food poisoning from Taco Bell. So for anyone who doesn't know, I got insane food poisoning, not just food poisoning, like, I got food poisoning from Taco Bell.
Called the ambulance.
Called the ambulance. I thought I was going to die. I was sick for a week. I can't describe the pain that came from that. And I remember it was so painful. This was like 5 years ago now. It was so painful and so terrible that during it, I remember going, remember how this feels and remember like how terrible this is so that you never go to Taco Bell again, because I don't care if this is a 1 in 100 chance. It's so not worth it. And I've not been back to a Taco Bell since then because of that. And I wish I would have done that in like March of a regular school year, when instead of getting to the end where it's like, okay, that was exhausting, but now there's a break. You maybe recover a little bit of your rest during the break, and then you head into the next year and you're like, okay, this year I'm going to prioritize exercise.
Yeah.
I'm going to set limits. I'm going to be healthy. And you do that for 4 weeks, and then the year kicks in, and it's like you get just enough time to come up for air that you think you can keep holding your breath, but you're not doing any favors to yourself or anybody by doing, I don't know. I'm just telling all teachers to quit their jobs at this point. But it's a thing with the academic calendar where if you have that itch to try something else or that itch to leave, the cycle of it can just kind of keep pulling you back in and keeping you feeling like, yeah, you have enough time or it's not too bad.
So see, this is why I think it's different person to person. And I think that, if these podcasts, the secret series or these episodes
not
really
so secret series
have resonated with you in a way where like you really feel like we're speaking to you, I think we are. But I think there's people out there who they need the structure.
Yeah.
Like they need, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are followers and some people are leaders, and some people just need to be told what to do. And they, like even for me, I am the best second person in command. Like, I hate steering the ship. I hate doing that. It's probably the part I like the least out of being a self-employed person. But holy crap, like, I'm the best executor once the vision is ironed out. But there's some people who just need the 9 to 5. They need a Monday through Friday. And there's nothing wrong with that. And
no. If you're psyched about it, and it also goes back to like, I know we need to wrap up in a second, but it goes back to when I got like my first teaching job, the stability, the salary, the health insurance, the schedule, the not working weekends. I know,
it was so cool.
Those were such luxuries that like I was so happy to have that I knew the weeks were brutal and miserable, but like it was something I had never had before that was so valuable to me that it did outweigh the pros outweighed the negatives at that point. But then 11 years passed and things just shifted a little bit.
It's like when I got my last job, I got a new car and I paid for a lot of it, you know. I started doing the most adult thing ever, which was take my clothes to dry cleaning on a regular basis. And I just was like, I feel so grown up. Like, this is it. I'm there. I thought it was so cool.
Like my metropolitan.
With my freaking beach apartment. And I was living the life.
So the thing I would say to somebody who well, it's funny you said what you said, because I was talking to my mom yesterday, and she specifically, of all the people who I did not expect to be supportive, she's been very supportive. And she said, yesterday she said, like she was kind of asking how things are going. And she was like, well, you don't need someone to be watching over your shoulder and like breathing down your neck, because you're a doer and you'll just get stuff done that you need to do. And I was like, yeah, like I'm not looking to slack it. Like,
you're right.
What I hate is being inefficient and ineffective, but I'm more than happy to work really hard at something that makes sense and that I can be effective at. But the other thing, though, that I would say to anyone like that is, in no way am I intending to be demeaning to someone. Like, if you are a teacher and you're happy and you're listening and you're like, oh, geez, like, that's great. that's fantastic. Obviously, like, we kind of need really good teachers. Mm-hmm. What I am saying, though, is for somebody who, especially if you're not 18 and you can just make a billion mistakes because there's no consequences yet, you're older. Maybe you've established a career and a life and responsibilities and stuff, but it doesn't feel like it's the best fit for you anymore. You don't have to just stick it out until you die or until you're older and like maybe you have a little bit of time to then do what you want. You can transition, and more than any time in history, we live at a point where you have the ability to craft.
You can design your life.
Yes, in a way that's never been possible before. And it doesn't even matter like where you live. It's not like, well, I need to move to this country or this state because that's the industry that I'm in. Obviously, that's true for some things. But for so much of it, it's like you can just do your thing independently, sometimes literally from home, and you can start something that could turn into something else. And I'm the last person in the world who ever thought that that is something that would happen. And well, the past couple weeks have been the absolute best thing. And everybody I talked to after they knew that I was leaving, I was so shocked, including people that I thought absolutely love their jobs. Every single person I talked to face said, if I had a way out, I would love to go too. Like, I wish I had a way out. I feel stuck. People who I was like, you're like the cheerleader for what's happening. They were just like, I wish I had an option. And it just showed me the importance of just doing something that might give you some kind of option.
Like, if you have an itch, scratch the itch.
Yeah.
If you have any fear of like, hell, maybe you should start a podcast. Maybe you should start a YouTube channel. Maybe you should start a blog. Maybe you should start a website. Whatever it is, if you have any kind of itch, but you are scared of, what people are going to think. Oh my gosh. Like, put all of that aside. This, like, the potential of what it can possibly grow into is so much more important than what anyone's going to think about it.
Right. Because
now.
If it generates zero revenue, it can be an amazing creative outlet to keep you
sane. At the very least, yeah.
And you never know where it will go, and it'll build some skills. It'll do something. It could just at least be an option because, good Lord, when suddenly they're like, we're going to be doing online classes all year. Oops, never mind. We'll get more money if we open sooner. So we're going to open sooner instead. It doesn't matter that everyone's not vaccinated and there's no plans and it's going to be terrible. That's what we're going to do. And I was able to say, nope.
Yeah.
Like, having that option was amazing versus literally right now, every day I would be just stressed out and crying and freaking out and putting myself in a situation where I didn't feel safe, where I straight up wouldn't be safe.
Yeah.
Like, and not having to put yourself in those situations is a very powerful thing. So if there's something you can do now to just open a door, open a window, whatever,
scratch the itch.
Scratch the itch. There we go.
And if you have any questions about podcast, YouTube stuff, hit us up. Yeah. We're happy to chat.
Since this is the finale, thank you so much for encouraging me to do this and for being the executive producer, because you orchestrated the whole thing.
If people want to reach out,
me too. If people want to reach out to you specifically, where could they find you?
You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/HeatherJustGreat or youtube.com/Heather Ramirez or on Instagram at HeatherJustGreat.
There we go. And you know where to find me, so I'm not even going to say it. So thank you for listening, and thank you to everybody who's been showing your support. And it's amazing. I appreciate it. And it's been really fun to kind of document this journey. I hope it's been interesting and helpful in some kind of way, and maybe you glean something from it that you can use in your own life. So thank you so much. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.